Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1990s Represent. We're still in our sixth cycle of 1996, talking about a movie. In this episode, we're talking about Broken Arrow, starring John Travolta and Christian Slater. I remember seeing this when it came out with my friend, and it's kind of just a basic 90s, cheesy 90s action movie. There's not a lot to it, but it's directed by John Woo, so you definitely get some good action there, some good shootouts. Obviously, like diving with the pistols, various scenes like that in the movie. But yeah, I remember seeing this when it first released, and it was at a theater, a local theater, that at the time only had two screens. So it had just two screens, and then I want to say like a year or so later, they expanded it to have two more screens, two smaller screens, I should say. And then I think a couple years after that, that location closed, and they moved the theater to a different location that I believe had or has like six screens as well. So yeah, this was kind of like I remember this being one of the last movies I saw at this theater before they kind of remodeled and expanded. Um, so like I have good memories of going to this movie. I had a good time with it, and I rewatched it again pretty recently. It's really cheesy. Some of the stuff kind of is doesn't hold up all that well. Like there's really not much of a plot to the movie. It's basically John Travolta's character steals nuclear warheads, and Christian Slater's character is trying to stop him. They're basically both, at least initially, um, these pilots that are working together, and then John Travolta kind of goes rogue. But I have some notes here about it. We'll get to the notes, and then we will get to the plot and all that as well. Let me just get this notebook opened up. All right, here we go. So, Broken Arrow, first released February 9th, 1996. Again, like I said, I saw this in theaters with a friend of mine. I believe this is John Woo's second American film, following the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie Hard Target. Hard Target's actually like a lot of fun as well. It's been a while since I've seen that one, but that's basically I think it's like Jean-Claude Van Damme playing like a Cajun. I forget exactly the plot of that, but Lance Henriksen is in it. He plays a really good villain. So he did Hard Target, then he did Broken Arrow, and then followed that up with I think probably the best movie in this initial three American films with Face Off. A few years later, went on to do I believe Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise, and this came out kind of during the whole what do you want to call it? The John Travolta kind of renaissance or resurgence. So John Travolta, obviously big from like Welcome Back, Kotter and Grease, stuff like that. Saturday Night Fever, very popular in like the like late '70s, early '80s. Kind of went down a little bit in like popularity. I think like right before doing Pulp Fiction, he had maybe done like three of the Look Who's Talking movies. So I think there was Look Who's Talking, was it Look Who's Talking 2 and Look Who's Talking Now? 2 being TOO because they added another kid to that movie. But yeah, then he does Pulp Fiction with Quentin Tarantino and then just starts getting a ton of different roles. I'm actually going to just need to bring up the John Travolta filmography here. Travolta. I can spell the John Travolta. So here we go. Here's the filmography. So let me just see. So he did Look Who's Talking in 1989, then Look Who's Talking 2 in 1990. Had a couple movies in 1991, Shout and Eyes of an Angel. Haven't seen those. Look Who's Talking Now, and then Pulp Fiction in 1994, and this is kind of where his career got a huge kind of resurgence. So after Pulp Fiction, a year later, 1995, we Get Shorty. Get Shorty's awesome. I should probably cover that on this series at some point. After that, there's White Man's Burden, which I haven't seen. Then he did, I think, like Phenomenon. After that, there's a movie I think was like Michael is a Broken Arrow or like an angel. Then after that is Broken Arrow. Let's see here. Mad City, which I haven't seen. Then he did Face Off, Civil Action. Let's see, Primary Colors. So basically, just a huge kind of boost from Pulp Fiction, and he kind of just rode that wave right through this movie. He's actually great in it. He definitely chews the scenery quite a bit. Christian Slater is also pretty good. I prefer Travolta's character in this because he's basically a pretty good villain, kind of over the top. Um, Christian Slater, I think the first thing I remember seeing him in was Robin Hood, the Kevin Costner film, and then he was in like Untamed Heart with Marissa Tomei. I think he was in Mobsters, a few other movies, and he's really good at this as well. He of course has that very distinct kind of like accent that he speaks in. Um, the movie also has Delroy Lindo, Kurtwood Smith. I think Kurtwood Smith is playing like the like what is it like Secretary of Defense or something like that. But those two leads like really carry the movie. I think Samantha Mathis is in this, and she plays like the park ranger that is basically kind of like the ends up being Christian Slater's kind of backup. She helps him out throughout the movie. Yeah, just kind of like I said, just John Travolta having a blast, chewing the scenery. He's great in this. Bob Gooden is it. Gooden is Bob Gooden, I think. I mean, actually, pronounce it if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Let's go to Broken Arrow here. Let's take a look at the cast. Is it Bob Gooden? He was in so like Demolition Man. I think was the first thing I recognized him in. He was obviously in Shawshank Redemption. He plays I think Captain Maxwell in Star Trek: The Next Generation. That's I think like a one-off episode. He's basically kind of the villain until Travolta takes his character out and then basically becomes the main villain because he's basically paying to get these nuclear weapons. So Travolta is technically working for him and then kind of just gets rid of him and basically becomes like the main villain after that. Howie Long is in this from the obviously I think he had just like retired shortly before doing this movie. And I think he was actually pretty good at it. He basically plays um, Travolta's like second in command, basically. Um, he's he's like apparently like in the army in the movie, but then ends up like uh, joining or defecting and going rogue with Travolta. Hans Zimmer did the score for this movie, and apparently this score is highly regarded by fans, and some people see it as some of his best work. So I haven't listened to the full score, but I should probably go and check that out. Movie was written by Graham Yost, also known for writing Speed. Speed, like an incredible film. Um, Let me see here. Apparently, they initially were considering John Travolta for the role of Hale, which ended up going to Christian Slater. Um, Travolta's just better in the villain role in this. Like, I don't think if you did a role reversal or a casting reversal, I don't think the movie would work at all. Apparently, there's like the train scene, kind of near the finale of the film, took 6 weeks to set up and film. Yeah, because there's a lot of like moving parts with that scene or that sequence. That sequence is actually really good. The film grossed $150 million globally. It didn't have great reviews, and apparently, this is one of the reviews where I think Siskel and Ebert were reviewing it, and I think Ebert gave it a thumbs down and Siskel gave it a thumbs up. But Siskel was, or Ebert was able to convince Siskel to change his decision to a thumbs down, basically like mid like episode. So I think Siskel liked it, and Ebert's like, well, like check, like here's a list of things that are wrong with this movie, and then that made Siskel change his review like mid show. We get into now. We're going to that basically wraps that part up. Let's get into our plot here. And I don't remember if the trailers gave away that Travolta was a villain. I think they did because it's really obvious from the beginning of the film that Travolta is the bad guy. So they're kind of training, like or not training. They're doing like him and Christian Slater's character are doing a sparring match, and Travolta's just kind of being a jerk to him. Later in the locker room, Travolta is like smoking, and then they get assigned their mission, which is to fly this stealth bomber like low. It's like a test flight basically, and it's carrying two nuclear warheads. Um, there's a scene where like basically they go to the briefing room, and Travolta's character is smoking in the briefing, and the general's like, "Hey, did you get promoted recently? Like even above me?" And Travolta's like, "No." He's like, "Why are you smoking in my briefing room?" They get assigned the mission to fly these missiles. They basically take off, and they're flying. And Delroy Lindo's character is then they're trying to track them. The jet goes stealth. It's kind of like seems like it's like a little like training exercise to see if they can detect the stealth bomber. So it goes stealth. They can't detect it. They're trying to figure it out. And then this is when at one point Christian Slater is like looking out the window, and Travolta pulls a gun on him, and they have a fight in the cockpit. The fight in the cockpit is kind of cheesy because obviously it's a very constricted kind of space. I think John Woo did what he could with like what he was given in that scene, but they basically what happens is Travolta's character pulls the ejection handle on Christian Slater's like seat. Christian Slater's character gets ejected out of the plane. The they eventually the people that are working like the satellites eventually get made or like get like radar on the thing, and they find the plane. And then he's like, Mayday, Mayday. He's like, Hales, lost it. I'm punching out. And then Travolta's character ejects, and the plane crashes. They have like an emergency meeting in Washington D.C. to figure out what's going on. And I think like Kurtwood Smith is telling this other guy, he's like, hey, like, let's go figure out what's going on here. And then they realize that there's the nuclear warheads are missing. And Kurtwood Smith's character does that cheesy thing where a character says the name of the movie. He's on the phone. He's like, "We got a broken arrow" or whatever it was. And the guy he's talking to, he's like, "What's that?" He's like, "That means like we've lost a nuclear warhead." And the other character makes a comment. He's like, "I don't know what's scarier, the fact that we're missing a nuclear warhead, or it happens so often that we have a name for it." So he's basically assigned to figure out like what's going on in these warheads. The warheads are in, I think, like just like I don't know if it's Utah. I think that's where it's filmed. But they're in the this like kind of like canyonous kind of area. At one point, we see a park ranger pull up to a campsite. There's a fire, and the park ranger's like, "Hey, like we got a problem with your fire," and he's like, "Oh, my wife is sick. I'm just trying to keep her warm. What's the fine for something like this?" And then the park ranger's like, he's like, "Oh, it's pretty big," and he like shoots him. And then more trucks pull up, and it's Bob Gutton's character and his kind of associates show up. Then we see another park ranger. This is the one played by Samantha Mathis. She gets a call, and her dispatcher's like, "Hey, like a bunch of trucks just came through, and it's really weird that you should probably check it out." And she's like, "Okay, like why is that?" And the dispatcher's like, "Well, because one of them apparently was one of our trucks, and if you're the only ranger like on patrol right now or like on duty, something's going on." So she's going out trying to figure out what's going on. Christian Slater's character is like detaches his parachute and starts trying to figure out what's going on as well. Bob Gutton's character is like, oh, like looks like Travolta's character didn't make it, and then he does a very awesome kind of slow mo shot at Travolta just walking over. And he's like, oh, what a terrible thing to say. Like he's like, let's go get those nuclear weapons, the nuclear warheads back. Um, they and then so they scramble in this team to recover the warheads, and like there's like a shootout between some of them, and then one of the army people is like, okay, I'm going to like open the warhead. I'm gonna drop a grenade in there, and that'll like he's like it won't go nuclear, but it'll prevent it from being captured or being taken. And this is where Howie Long's character pulls the gun out. He's like, "Sorry, I can't let you do that," and he shoots the other guy, the army guy. And then he gets on the radio to Travolta. He's like, "Oh, we got it." And then now Howie Long has defected or like gone rogue as well. Samantha Mathis's character, the park ranger, rolls on Hale, who is Christian Slater, and they have like a fight. Like they fight for a second, and then there is this. Um, so that they Travolta's character now has the warheads with Bob Gutton's character, and there's this chase going on Humvees. This is actually a pretty cool chase. So there's a Humvee coming up, and then like Christian Slater's character gets on one of them, and there's shootouts, and they're like one of the lines is Travolta's like, "Don't shoot around the nuclear weapons." He says it kind of like that. I mean, hopefully that sounded correct. But at one point, Christian Slater grabs a gas can, ties a flare to it, lights it, and throws it at the Humvee behind them, and that blows up. And then they take. So now Christian Slater has technically recovered these warheads. So they go to this abandoned mine. They get to the mine, and Christian Slater is immediately suspicious because he's asking the park ranger. He's like, "Hey, like, how long has this place been like abandoned or like closed?" And she's like, "Oh, it's been closed for a couple of years." And Christian Slater's character Hale notices there's a brand new lock on the gate to the mine. So he's like, "Something's weird here about this. There's like a gate on here." So they get the warheads into the mine, and Hale has the idea to attempt to arm them with the incorrect codes. So if you enter the incorrect code too many times, it just locks out the. It makes it so it can't be armed. It's like a kind of like, oh, you tried to log in too many times with a bad password, we're locking your account, kind of thing like that. So God, what is the name of Travolta's character here? Let me just see here. So Travolta is Deakins. There's Deakins and Hale. So Deakins is Travolta. So Deakins calls Hale. He's like, Hale. He's like, Hale, what are you doing? Like, and Hale's like, hey, I'm gonna like disable these warheads by entering the wrong code too many times. And he's like, if I enter the wrong code, it'll like lock him out. And Christian Slater's character Hale is like typing the codes in. He fails one code, fails two codes, and then the third code goes in, and it actually works. And it now the bomb is armed, and Deakins is like, well, like I already kind of thought of that. I used uncoded circuit boards, so now he's like, I switched the circuit boards out, so now those things are armed. And now there's like a timer like on this active nuclear warhead that's about to like go up. And then Hale is like, well, okay, cool. Like, how deep does this mine go? To he's talking to Park Ranger is, I don't think we get her name until the very end of the movie. Let's see here. Terry Carmichael is the Park Ranger, and she's like, oh, the mine is like 100 feet deep, however deep it was. I kind of don't recall the exact like depth of the mine. But then Hale's got the idea to take the bombs into the mine all the way down, so they just detonate underground. And he tells Deakins, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to detonate this. This thing's going to detonate. It's going to be next to the other one. It's going to be buried under like thousands and thousands of pounds of rock, basically." And Deakins is like, "Oh, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "Damn it, he's going to do it." So they drive to the mine, and that's when one of the bigger action scenes happens. It's a huge shootout between Deakins and Hale and like what's his name? Deacon's kind of like henchmen and stuff like that. So they have a huge shootout, and the bomb eventually does go off, but there's also an underground river that gets Deakins and Terry to safety, basically. After they escape, Bob Gooden's character rolls back up, and he's like, "What happened to the other bomb? What happened to the other bomb?" And then Bob Gooden's character is complaining basically the entire time he's on screen to the Deakins, to the point where Deakins takes like, I think it's like a mag light, like a flashlight, and just smacks him in the throat with it and killing him. And he's like, "Ah, isn't that nice?" It's like kind of quiet now. So eventually, I think it's like the Nest team, which was the nuclear. I forget exactly what it meant. Yeah, but the government scatters this Nest team to deal with the nuclear warheads. It's like like disposal team. It's not a disposal team, but it's like a threat assessment team for nuclear weapons. So there's a helicopter that's chasing their Humvee now. So this is Deakins and Howie Long's character. Howie Long's character is named. Let me see here. If they even name him in the movie. Kelly, Sergeant Kelly. So they're in this Jeep or this Humvee, I should say. And there's a helicopter. The helicopter's like, "Hey, stand down, stand down." And Travolta's checking his watch because he knows the bomb is going to detonate. So they have one bomb in the mine still, and they've recovered and they've taken the other one back. Um, but he tells everybody in the Hummer, he's like, "Hey, turn off all electronic equipment." They all turn it off. The bomb goes off, and it causes the helicopter to crash due to the EMP. There's a great line where you see the helicopter crashing, and Travolta's like, he's like, man, what a rush, or whatever he says. So now that helicopter's down. They still have the warhead. I think they send like their demands to the government. They're like, hey, pay us within this time, or we'll blow this up. The initial plan apparently was to bring the warheads to, I think, a hospital in Salt Lake City, and they were going to hide them in the hospital's like urology department. So then, like, it would just look like, oh, they have like X-ray or like urology machines there that have like radioactive stuff in them. So it'll look like nothing's there. So basically, what happens after this is um, Carmichael and Hale escape the mine. They're in this river because they take the underground river to get out, and then um, Terry ends up like they sneak onto a boat, and she gets it's the boat that Travolta's character's on, and they end up getting I want to say like capturing her, but she ends up with Travolta's character. Delroy Lindo's character shows up, and he's under orders to bring Hale in because everybody thinks that Hale is the villain because he's like during the radio call, Deacon is like, "Oh, Hale lost it. I'm punching out." So he's trying to basically like Travolta's character is trying to paint Hale as the villain, as the one that is like going rogue. The other guy that got working for the government eventually figures out he's like, hey, like what if this is like all um like misdirection kind of stuff like that. So the whole big misdirection is everything is pointing that Deacon is taking the nuclear warheads to the east when he's like, or taking them to the west when he's actually heading east. So the stuff in Salt Lake City is east of where they are, but then he's like, well, that probably actually means they're heading west. So now they've loaded the warhead onto a train and are bringing it. They said they're it's going west of where they are, and like Salt Lake City and all that is kind of like a. They keep talking about the Muhammad Ali rope a dope. He's like, hey, it's a rope a dope. He's going one. He said he's going one way, but he's going another way. So they eventually get to the train, and this is one of the bigger action sequences in the film. So you have like a lot of shootouts. You have um, like fights on the train. Howie Long, I think, eventually gets like his character gets thrown off the train. They have the nuclear warhead. They're able to disable it technically, so it doesn't actually go off. And I think there's like a helicopter that they sabotage the escape helicopter by pulling the gas line. So there's this gas everywhere, and even the pilot is like, Deacon is like, hey, turn that engine off, and like the helicopter explodes. So now everybody that's on that train is basically stuck on it. There's another fight between Deacons and Hale, and it's a throwback to their boxing match earlier in the movie. So he's like, and they're constantly wagering money on the fight. So he's like, basically, like Travolta's like, I got the detonator here. If you could input the code quick enough, like, can you get to it? And they have a boxing match, which in this one ends up being Hale ends up winning, and the train basically gets derailed, and the nuclear warhead basically it launches. It doesn't go nuclear, but it basically like hits Travolta's character like dead on, and he like gets flung out of the train. Um, Basically, the disaster is basically averted. The movie, like I said, the movie is very cheesy. Um, Travolta definitely is over the top with chewing the scenery, but I actually think that works here. Um, like it worked very well also in Face Off when he is no longer Sean Archer, but he's actually like playing Castor Troy. He's great there. He's great in this. He's probably the best thing in the movie because he definitely like is definitely over the top with this particular character. Like I said, the action is kind of pretty good, and it's not my favorite John Woo movie, but I did have a good time when I rewatched it. So again, that is Broken Arrow. That is going to do it for now. We'll be back again in a few days covering a video or computer game from 1996 before jumping into 1997 and the rest of the decade. So remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one.